So many people in the limelight don't speak up about racism, about equal pay, and about feminism. What drives you to do it, and to do it so well?
It's important for me, and it's always been important for me, to point out an injustice whenever I see it. The longer I've been in this industry, the more I've seen. And if you're part of the industry, you're part of the problem. So talking about it isn't enough. It's now important to put that talk into action. And hopefully, you know, being in films like Miss Sloane, it's a character that shatters gender stereotypes of what it is to be ambitious and overprepared, and that they don't have to be masculine traits. A woman can be those things, and it is perfectly acceptable. I like confusing an audience and having a character just break out of a stereotype.
I'm interviewing you on Superhero Day, and it felt incredibly appropriate, both in your guise as Ms. Sloane and also in what you're doing to drive equal pay in Hollywood and to do that. Were these sort of traits something that drew you to her as a character?
Absolutely. I mean, what really drew me to play Elizabeth, you know, in the beginning I was fascinated by the corruption in the American political system. Yes, of course, the film deals with gun regulations, but it could be anything. It could be climate change, it could be immigration. But that leads her to uncover the fact that politicians aren't protecting the people. They're just trying to keep their seat in office, and that means they're following the campaign finance money. Elizabeth Sloane is an incredible character to play. She's the most intelligent person in the room. She ruffles a lot of feathers. She's ruthless, and we're not used to seeing female characters like that, and I love that about her.
The British equivalent to the nasty woman was the difficult woman, and it's so brilliant to see somebody like that on screen.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I mean about her sort of feeling like a modern superhero. It's lovely seeing somebody with those many characteristics. And I also love the fact that we see her reading a John Grisham novel in early scenes. John Grisham fans will know what that means, but are there any other sort of Easter eggs that we should be looking out for?
Oh, Easter eggs. Well, the great thing about this film is it's a thriller. You don't know what's going to happen next. And there's so many twists and turns. So the first time you see it, you're kind of like on the ride and discovering Elizabeth Sloane. But then the second time you see it, you can actually watch the game that she's playing behind the scenes. So it's a fascinating character study. You can see scenes, you know, there's a scene where she fires someone, and you can see the scene right before that she's preparing for that moment. And that's a great thing about the character, because the more you watch it, the more little moments you find.
We also get an amazing insight into the world of lobbying, which I found completely fascinating. When you were doing your research, were there any sort of favourite things that you found out about it? Anything that really interested you?
Well, I read, you know, what was fascinating to me was reading about Jack Abramoff. He's an American lobbyist that was very successful and did things that were very illegal, and he ended up in jail. And he was such a dynamic character, but learning about how he started off with his campaigning for Reagan and, you know, throughout his career, what he had accomplished, and he really kind of like changed the whole game for lobbying. I was just surprised by the money. I'm just shocked by how much money is behind the scenes in DC, and what we could do with that, you know. I just find it such a waste. And also the idea, which now is not so shocking because with everything that's coming out after the election, the idea that lobbyists can hire actors or hire people to go into a protest and kind of like make the protest people look crazy by holding up crazy signs. The fact that lobbyists do that under the covers work is shocking and devious and fascinating. When I thought we were making a movie that was like fictional reality, but then the election happened and you're like, nope, this is just reality.
Well, as one last question, I find Miss Sloane an amazingly inspiring character, but of course she's fictional. Other than you inspiring us with everything that you're doing in Hollywood at the moment, who inspires you?
My grandmother inspires me. Gloria Steinem inspires me. Hillary Clinton inspires me. There are so many people that have sacrificed so much to create the trails that we walk on today, the things that we take for granted. The suffragettes inspire me because, you know, it used to be a bad thing. Women were very afraid to associate themselves with that title, a suffragette. even though it just meant women should have the right to vote. Just like some women today are afraid to associate themselves with the title of feminist, which means equal rights. Women's rights are human rights. And so I always try to think of the women that came before me and show gratitude and thankfulness because I am where I am today for the paths that they have created.